And welcome back, along with Ben Carroll on the producing on the radio side and Eduardo Tomez on the TV side. I'm Tony Etseni, coming to you live from the Hy-Vee High School headquarters, where they proudly support the student athletes, coaches, officials, and teachers of Iowa high schools. Hy-Vee, making life easier, healthier, and happier. And also the Des Moines Import Studios. Well, before we go to our interview, let's take a look at some of the statistical leaders in Iowa high school softball and baseball. And by the way, if you're interested, at least twice weekly at our website at iowasportsconnection.com, we will update the statistical leaders in most of the major categories in Iowa high school softball and baseball throughout the regular season. As we head into this weekend's action, in Class 4A, the top hitter, Jaden Spencer out of Waterloo West in softball, batting .688, plus she's walked 23 times. So her on-base percentage way up there. In 3A, it's Fran Strube out of Clear Creek, Amana, batting a torrid .813 in the early part of the year. And these are kids with at least 25 at-bats under their belt. Haley Cox of West Liberty is the top in Class 2A. And in Class 1A, Morgan Frost, a pre-freshman out of Don Bosco, leading the way, batting .636. The doubles leader, Kelsey Rose and Annika Angela of Mason City. Kelsey Rose out of Bettendorf. They have 8 doubles in Class 4A with 9. Brooke Mallon out of Ballard leads the way in 3A. The 2A leader, just is about 5 or 6 girls. And in Class 1A, the leader with 10, Michaela Milsego out of Lamoni. Go to all of the leaderboard in that. iowasportsconnection.com on the softball side. On the baseball side, the hitting leader, Zach Capola out of Dowling Catholic, batting .667. In 3A, Alex Brown out of Harlan, also the same batting average, along with Nick Day out of Solon. Cale Henke out of Hudson leads the way in Class 2A, and Tyler Sizek out of North Tama of Traer, batting an even .700, has the top of the category in 1A. Again, not only the batting, but the pitching category leaders in all of Iowa high school softball and baseball listed at iowasportsconnection.com. Well, throughout the year, we like to keep up with all of our great affiliates, and tonight, another one out of Ames is KASI, AM 1430. He is the sports director with that affiliate. He is Dave Sprau, and he joins us here on this Friday Night Live Spring into Summer edition. And Dave, can you turn it off? Can you turn off that sprinkler system?
Yeah, I think we'll do our best anyway.
Wow, what a wet spring into summer we've had, and things don't look to be any better, but exciting times. Let's talk college first with you, because it's great, exciting news for Iowa State, and it shows that they are really trying to get themselves and that football program to be able to compete at the upper echelon of the Big 12 Conference.
Yeah, it's always kind of a tug and pull between trying to keep up with what other programs have and trying to maintain yourself as an elite, maybe not elite, but at least certainly a legitimate major conference player. And a lot of folks might have heard that this week the Iowa Board of Regents gave the approval for the athletics department at Iowa State to go ahead and build a new facility that will house the football program, everything from soup to nuts. It'll be coaches' offices, locker rooms, weight rooms, training areas, just about anything that a football player or a coach would need. And it's going to be built right onto an existing building, which is their indoor practice facility. That facility has drawn raves from around the country. Actually, is one of the best of its kind, so it's kind of fitting that this new facility would be here. It's just if I can get my directions right, folks who might be familiar with the Jack Trice Stadium area would know that it's on the north end, on the northwest corner of the stadium there. It's not in the Jacobson building itself, but across the parking lot. And so there's going to be a lot of renovations there. It's about a $20 million project, 60 or 600,000 square foot facility. I can't remember how many zeros are in that, but it's going to be big, 2 levels, and it's going to put the facility, Iowa State football facilities, pretty much on par with what you can expect from the Big 12.
And your own personal office is going to be part of that?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they've totally considered me as part of the family over there.
All right, Dave. Dave Sprau, sports director with Ames, is our affiliate, KASI, AM 1430. Let's talk high school sports as we move into the soccer championships over in Muscatine. But tennis has been contested, and boy, the Ames Little Cyclones girls team, what an outstanding season they had.
Another one, a third straight Class 2A state championship, and this one was a sweep. Not only did they win the team championship, but they won singles and doubles championships there at Ames. So I'd say, yeah, it's pretty been a successful season for tennis, and of course the Ames boys followed that up with, or actually preceded that with a win of their own on the boys' side for the state championship there as well, and it was a pretty dramatic win for them.
When you're talking softball and baseball in your area, let's talk first of all softball, some of the teams and maybe some of the players to watch coming out of your area this year.
Well, we're keeping a really close eye on Ames this year, actually, as a matter of fact. They're obviously good talented teams around the area. Rolling Story usually puts together a good team. But this is really for the folks in Ames here. They're looking at this as a potential breakthrough season for them. They haven't put together a winning record since 2002. So it's been a long time, and a lot of the players on the team now were in grade school back at that time. But they have a lot of experienced and talented players who've been together for a few years under head coach Gary Gorman, who I think is in his fourth year now, in his second stint as the head coach at Ames High. Was pretty successful his first time around, and we've seen improvement out of this team the last few years. And some of the names to watch, Hunter Stolmeyer is the pitcher. She's a junior, and she's been with varsity since 8th grade. She's been their number one starter since her freshman year, and has herself improved every year. Throws pretty hard, has good velocity, and I saw a quote from an opponent coach. They played Marshalltown earlier this week in their conference opener. I saw a quote from their coach saying that she's just wild enough to keep you off guard, which can be, I guess, a valuable tool, even if it's not maybe ideal. And there's a nice catcher, Madison Michelson, who lost pretty much all of last season to an ankle injury. He only got 10 at-bats, but this year has been off the charts with her hitting. She's got a couple of home runs, including on Wednesday night. She hit a game-winning 3-run home run against Cedar Falls to give the Little Cyclones a dramatic victory there. She's got 2 home runs on the season, leads the team in batting average, slugging percentage, on-base percentage. So she's kind of the driving force of the offense, and Stolmeyer taking care of things pitching.
And Dave, you've covered enough softball in Iowa, and I mean, I've been at it 15, 20 years ago. I remember seeing the girls like Penny Cope, and it goes on with Kelly Shade and the outstanding pitches. But they moved that mound back 3 feet, and it has made a heck of a lot of difference. I went up to that West Des Moines Valley shootout this weekend to watch some of the more outstanding teams in the state playing in a tournament, and a definite difference in the pitching now. Hitters have a lot more of an advantage, and kids are still learning that new difference in the footage. And they have to learn the fastball is not the only thing to live by and die by anymore.
That's true. A change of speeds really, just like in baseball, it's very important in softball. And if you've got a good changeup, you can really keep your opponent, the hitters off balance there. And Stolmeyer has developed that pretty nicely. She also, as I mentioned, has good movement on the ball. But if you can change speeds, you really have an advantage, especially with the longer pitching distance now.
And this is no longer a pitcher. I mean, it's still a pitcher's game. If you have an outstanding
Sure.
pitcher, you're going to have a dog in the fight and compete on most nights. But hitters, you got to have it. You can't do it with 1 or 2 or 3 hitters like some teams do at times, because you had such an outstanding pitcher. And now you do have to have hitters. You'll see in scores of 5-3 and 6-4 more for the outstanding elite teams when they face each other, because they have hitters from 1 maybe through 6 that can sit there and get that bat on the ball and make things happen.
And that game I mentioned between Ames and Cedar Falls Wednesday night, that ended up 9-7 in favor of the Little Cyclones. So that shows you how much more scoring there is. And Ames is taking advantage a little bit themselves, developing their offense. They hadn't hit a home run all of last season, and it was about midway point of the season before they had last hit a home run going into this season. They got a home run early this season to get off the snide there. I mentioned Michelson has 2, and as a team, Ames now already has 5 on the season. So, yeah, maybe we are starting to see, at least here in Ames, we're starting to see that offense come around.
Well, Dave, on the baseball side, I mean, you're going to see some outstanding baseball being played, especially out of that CIML Iowa Conference, because, I mean, Mason City is just an eyebrow away from winning the state title last year. West Des Moines Valley is always playing some pretty solid baseball, and they're after it. Marshalltown such great tradition. I mean, night in and night out, you better be able to play there.
Absolutely, and it's always a big challenge for whoever comes to town to pitch well in Ames, because Ray Smalling Field over at one of the city parks here has probably one of the shortest outfield fences in all of the state, or at least certainly in Class 4A. It's a generous 300 down the right field line. It's not much of a poke to get it out of there, and we've had a couple nights already this season where the wind's been blowing out pretty strong to left, which isn't especially deep as far as that goes. So we usually settle in when we go to a game here for the Ames High squad. We settle in for a hitter's fest, and sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. The other night it was a 2-0 final between Ames and Johnston, in which the Johnston pitcher, whose name eludes me at the moment, I forget, threw a 1-hitter, and the Ames starter threw a complete game of his own, only allowing those 2 runs. So even the occasional pitcher's duel, of course, but it's a very hitter-friendly park here at Ames, and we usually see 1 or 2 a night go out of the park.
And what's his name? Mark Bonestro?
Matt Bonestro is one of the big performers for Ames. He's the starting shortstop, was the starting catcher most of last season, but they moved him to shortstop to kind of take advantage of his athletic ability, and he's projected in college as more of a shortstop type player. He'll be going on to play at Winona State up in Minnesota, which just finished as a runner-up in the Division II College World Series. So he's going to a very good program there, and he's off to a good start. He pitches as well, throws pretty hard too. So he's kind of the anchor for the team as one of the senior leaders for a team that on most nights is going to throw out 5 seniors and 4 freshmen in the starting lineup. It's an interesting mix for the Little Cyclones baseball squad this season.
Right now in the state, as far as ERA, with at least 15 innings pitched in baseball, that's quite a bit so far in this early part of the season. He's 5th in the state in Class 4A with ERA at 1.75, so it shows his athletic ability. You project him as a shortstop, but an athlete, and he's doing well on the mound for him as well.
And I would imagine he'll probably go against Valley Monday night. Ames has the Tigers coming to town for a doubleheader in Valley, in the top 5 ranked coming into the week. So that'll be a tremendous matchup. He threw actually 9 innings in a game over at Marshalltown earlier this week, which, is the entire amount of innings you're allowed for a week, I believe, if I remember the rules correctly. And Ames and Marshalltown actually went on to a 10-inning ball game in that one that Marshalltown won on a game-winning home run. So that was a very dramatic game, and he did a great job out there keeping his team in the game, holding the Marshalltown lineup down. And then there's some younger guys that are also seeing some mound time, and you kind of expect that to be up and down. So we're going to see how that works out for Ames. But as I said, you're relying on 5 seniors and 4 freshmen day in and day out. It's going to make for probably some inconsistent play, and we've seen it up and down a little bit. Ames started off 1-4, they got back to 4-4, then they dropped 4 in a row, and they were supposed to play at Indianola tonight, but that got washed out by last night's storms because the field down there flooded. So you have those issues to deal with as well.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that somebody was on the roof dropping pellets on it, but it's raining again here, so it's not getting any better in this area as we speak. I've always talked about it, baseball and softball, it's a game of failure. If you're scared to fail, then you shouldn't be playing in the sport, because I've always told young kids, especially in Little League, not to be scared to take that bat off their shoulder and be scared to fail, because when you bat 300, which is 30% success rate, you got a chance for the Hall of Fame. and that's what's fun about the sport. You just never know on any given night.
And I was talking with Ames High baseball coach Eric Bappy here recently about what he wants to see from his team as far as their approach. He wants to see them be a little more aggressive with the bats and maybe jump on pitches earlier in the count. And you get a good pitch, you look to drive it, especially in a hitter-friendly park like Ames has.
Well, Dave, any other news you want to pass along as far as what's going on in your neck of the woods and where people can catch you? How many nights a week do you cover baseball and softball down in your neck of the woods?
Well, we cover pretty much every home game for the baseball squad, and so that'll vary week to week. We'll have a couple nights out there this week, depending on. Also, I think there's some makeup dates that might come into play. They had some actually open days. I think they were scheduled to play coming into this week 4 of the 5 nights of the week. So that shows you how busy things can get, obviously, at this time of year. And in the CIML, you see double headers just about every night out there as well. So we'll have kind of, I guess, for us, a light week by most standards. But we'll be out there 3-4 times a week, either at the baseball or softball diamond, depending on how the schedule plays out. And I know it's going to get busy, actually, once we get into the later portion of the season. It seems like Ames is kind of backlogged with home games later in the season. So late June, early July, it's going to get even busier.
Well, one thing we're blessed with is 2 great facilities to watch the state championship game, even though they're in the summer here in the state, and that's over in Fort Dodge at Harlan Rogers Park, and then Principal Park here in Des Moines at Sec Taylor Field. 2 great facilities to watch both the state softball and baseball championships.
I love this summer setup. I grew up in a state where they played in the spring, and it's a northern state, so sometimes it was pretty darn cold out there.
Yeah.
Now, occasionally, obviously, you have to deal with some heat and rain, but I like the summer setup a lot more personally. Just as a fan watching it, I know it sometimes is a struggle for coaches to get kids to come out and maybe give up a summer vacation or a chance to go to a camp for another sport or something like that to come out and play. But I know I certainly enjoy the warm summer nights and watching baseball.
Well, at least we know the kids that are playing, they love what they're doing. Otherwise, they would be
That's very
out there,
true.
and that's what it's all about, the love of the sport. And you don't get those opportunities, you can't go back and get them back. So I'm glad to see those kids continuing to participate and enjoy that. Well, Dave, it's been great talking to you, and we'll catch up with you down the road, especially throughout the football season, where you're one of our great affiliates as well. He's Dave Sprau, sports director with Ames affiliate KASI, AM 1430. Turn that dial on when you're in the area to listen to some great baseball and softball as well. Dave, thanks, and have a great weekend, brother.
My pleasure.
All right, Dave Sprau, sports director with our great affiliate, KASI in Ames. Tomorrow morning, From 8 to 10, it's the Iowa Sports Connection radio show, as we'll continue to talk to a couple more of our affiliates. I think we're going to be talking to Jeff Blankman over in Carroll about what's going on in their area. Also in Atlantic with Tom Robinson. He has a radio voice. Love to have that voice as well. Again, by the way, the state soccer results so far in Class 1A, heading to the state championship game in Class 1A. The Lady Knights of Davenport Assumption with a 1-0 victory over Columbus Catholic of Waterloo, and then Union of LaPorte City. They beat Bishop Heelan of Sioux City 4-1. So Davenport Assumption and Union of LaPorte City facing each other in the 1A title game tomorrow in soccer in Muscatine. The 2A title game will pit Cedar Rapids Xavier and Waukee. The Saints defeated Glenwood this afternoon 4-0, while the Warriors knocked off Pleasant Valley 2-1 to advance to the 2A championships. The 3A results and the 3A games underway as we speak. We'll try to get them posted up shortly. So again, tomorrow morning, 8 to 10, listen in as we talk more soccer, more baseball, more softball, and a whole lot more, including the Iowa Racing Across Iowa segment brought to you by the Iowa Sports Connection and, of course, our great friends over at Carl Chevrolet and the Knoxville Raceway. For Ben Carroll and for Eduardo Tomez, I'm Tony Ansetti saying good night. Have a great sports weekend, everybody.